And here we have it, the tier 1 TCG staple Labyrinth is finally at its full power here in Master Duel with the inclusion of the new cards, Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, as well as of course the new trap card, Big Welcome Labyrinth. So these are the two cards we were missing, and they completely changed the dynamic of the deck, how it works, as well as how powerful it is. What you're looking at right now was just one of our initial versions of the deck, testing out of course the combo that I described in a recent YouTube short, where you can activate any trap card directly from deck. Everyone's talking about it, everyone's doing it. This is just like an initial prototype from when we were testing that out. I've a bunch of different builds on Labyrinth. We're going to be doing a few different videos on it over the next sort of week or so. So keep an eye out. We're going to be covering this deck a lot coming up, and plenty of different ways of playing it for people who want to play it at different speeds, at different paces, with different tech cards, whatever. This version here was, again, purely built based around trying to resolve the virus cards more consistently. Nothing really super special about this version. Very, very standard in terms of what we're going on for. With our other versions, we sort of dropped the virus cards because I'm going to be real, I don't really like them too much. I don't think they're too strong right now. But ultimately, that's what this version is about. A lot of people really like these virus cards, so I wanted to cover it off at least once. So we are going to be doing a card for card deck profile at the end of the video, but first we have a few replays lined up just to talk about the deck, show off some of its strong points, some of its weak points, because it is definitely not broken or anything like that. I don't think it's going to be tier 1 in Master Duel like it is in the TCG, but it's definitely going to be more than viable. We'll go over a couple of games, deck profile at the end. If you're interested in this sort of thing, as well as some of the other versions of Labyrinth, as well as any other deck that we're putting up over the next couple of weeks, by all means subscribe so you can see them as they come out. Like the video if you enjoy watching. Let's get into game 1. Now, I don't have these games in any particular order, so we're just going to be going through them here as we're playing. Our opponent's just going to set 2 pass. You're going to be seeing a lot of set 2, set 3 pass over the next couple of weeks because of the popularity now, all of the new back row cards that we just got in back row decks. You're going to be seeing a spike in set 2 pass, right? Now that's not what our opponent's actually doing here, so we're just going to, like, here's a common misplay. I do want to show this off because this is something I do constantly and I kick myself every time I do it. Ku Klux effect only works if you control another Labyrinth monster, which I always forget about. That's my bad, that's me being stupid. We're going to start with Heavenly Prisons, just because we can. We're going to go for Pot of Prosperity, banishing 6, checking the top 6 cards of our deck, seeing if we can't hit something useful among them. We're going to grab a Ariana directly from deck to hand. We're going to summon Ariana, searching the deck for the Lady here. Considering the fact we already have a Fearstan card, they're going to chain their Max C. We're going to chain our Big Welcome to that. We might as well dodge the draw 1. Totally fine. We're going to summon out lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, bouncing back the Ariana, and we're going to summon out Lady of the Silver Labyrinth, basically. We're going to use this, we're going to get popping, we're going to use the Chandelier. That's going to get hit with Call by the Grave, which is pretty interesting. And, I mean, that's a decent enough call by target. I would maybe rather have saved it for the clock, but to each their own. That's totally fine. Castle's going to pop a card in hand. We weren't too worried about the back row, to be perfectly honest. We're going to reset the Dimensional Barrier as well from the graveyard. Dimensional Barrier being an amazingly powerful Floodgate card. And based upon the fact that our opponent just discarded a Taya, well, we destroyed a Taya in their hand. Now they're going to normal summon Taya, banish Taya from grave. We're going to flip up Dimensional Barrier, locking them out of using Synchro Monsters. That's going to activate, of course, the effect of our Silver Labyrinth. They're going to go for their spell card here, tributing off for the Heavenly Dragon Circle. Now, that is an interesting play because they are still going to summon their token, which will lock them into synchro summoning only from the extra deck, but they also cannot synchro summon, so their extra deck is basically non-accessible. I'm pretty sure from here they don't stick around an awful lot longer. We summon out the Heavenly Prison, set the Extravagance, flip up the Virus, tribute the Lord, pop the hand, and from there we also get to pop another card out of his hand because of Lady Labyrinth, or Lovely Labyrinth, and there you go. There's just a bit of showing off some of the hand controls, some constantly sort of whittling down your opponent's hand, card for card, sniping cards, as well as applying big floodgates in the form of your viruses. Again, just showing off different elements of the deck with different replays. Not every replay is going to be like, oh, tier 1, like absolute baller plays, but I did want to show off the sort of hand control and how Lovely can really whittle down your opponent's resources. Already getting into game 2 here. We've got Ariana in hand, but our hand isn't looking too great right now, so we're going to have to improvise just a little bit. Set 3 and pass. Of course, Ariane and the Welcome Labyrinth are at the very least going to give us something. They're going to go for Evil Eyes Unleashed. Evil Eyes Unleashed is pretty damn powerful. We're going to go Welcome Labyrinth here, unfortunately getting hit with an Ash Blossom. If that had a resolve, we would have been in major business, to be honest. We would have been able to summon out Lady, return it. That would have triggered the Ariana to summon out our Lovely. We wouldn't be able to summon Lady. We would have had so many plays, but that one Ash Blossom does hurt. That's why we're running Gamma in this deck, honestly. Because Ash Blossom hurts. They're going to go Cerziel. We're going to activate Imperm. We might as well. We've got 2 of them set. We're not losing anything by using it. And with Evil Eye, they tend not to special summon too much. They're going to go Evil Eye of Celine, Evil Eye of Gorgiano. Celine is going to bot boost. They're going to swing in. 1,000 damage over our monster. That's going to not trigger it again, sorry. I'm trying to remember what happens with this matchup. It was a little while ago we played it. Normal summon the Ariana. I'm going to grab a Lady directly from the deck. We're going to activate the Lady here, summon it out. We've got, of course, the set Imperm, but our opponent's monster cannot be targeted by card effects, so we need to wait until we have a viable target for Imperm here. We're going to swing in at our Ariana. We're going to use the big Welcome in the graveyard, shuffling it back, drawing a card, and then special summoning out Lovely Labyrinth. Now, they're still going to take out Ariana, sure thing. That's totally fine, and they are, unfortunately, able to use the effect of this card here to pop the Lovely Labyrinth as well. Which is, again, unfortunate, something I didn't realize it could do. Celine here, now they're going to go for triple tactics. They choose to look at our hand to shuffle back a card, but luckily we've got Torby in hand, so we can discard our whole hand to set a card, and that means his tactics resolves without effect. So that is us dodging a pretty powerful card right there. And getting in the R turn with Welcome Labyrinth on the field, we are definitely in a very strong position here. Pot of Extravagance is also a fantastic top deck too, being able to banish 6 cards from our extra deck to draw 2, but there's the Evil Eye Retribution. That's totally fine. I'll eat a negate on the Extravagance rather than anything else. That puts us in a decent position, although his monster is slightly too big for us to take down now. 3,600 attack points is going to be tough. We're going to flip up Welcome Labyrinth, chaining to that our Silver Castle. We're going to set to the field big Welcome Labyrinth. Summoning out Ariana. Ariana on summon will get searching. We're going to grab the field spell, activating the field spell so we can utilize it next turn. Going into end phase, we've got the big Welcome, of course. We have the field spell, so we're going to use big Welcome. We're going to then chain to that our Lady once more, setting another trap card from the deck. You just generate so much resources from this. We grab the Virus card because that's ultimately our end goal here. We're going to use the field spell to pop the equip spell. We get to use Ariana to draw 1, Torby add back the hand, Welcome set back the field. Look at the, again, just look at the resources. It is incredible. Set 1, there's a plus. Special summon, there's a plus. Draw 1, there's a plus. We're going to go Ku Klux, so now we can activate a trap card this turn on demand. They're going to go Celine, paying 1,000 life points, banishing a card to reset it. That's when we go for Virus. They're going to flip it up, tribute a card, declare a spell, take out his equip spell. He, of course, still has an annoying Cerziel, but we're able to bring back Lady because of our field spell. It does get taken down again, but whatever. At the very least, we're in a position where we can now come back. He doesn't have the immunity to destruction or targeting because he no longer has his field spell. So we're definitely in a position to win this now. Whereas before this we were struggling a little bit. We drawn our second copy of the clock. Unfortunately, we're able to summon out Lady, popping one of the back row cards. We snape the Imperm, meaning that one remaining is evenly matched. We're going to negate his monster just so we can chain to that our Lady. We don't want to give him the chance to use that Imperm, so we're going to grab Ghastly Glitch, which we did eventually drop. It wasn't really all that impressive. Any one of our Labyrinth cards would have done the same job. We're going to summon Lovely back from grave, resetting the Virus card, activating Big Welcome Labyrinth, going to shuffle that back to hand, use this card's effect, pop the back row, Ariana, draw 1, Torby, special summon, Chandelier, add back to hand. How many pluses do you want? There's a plus, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. Popping the evenly matched, and then easy swing for game. Like, honestly, this game was to show off the card advantage. This game was purely to show off the brutality of the grind game, just the sheer recurrence of the deck. And big Welcome Labyrinth definitely helps a ton with that, because regular Welcome Labyrinth can't summon from Graveyard. Big Welcome Labyrinth having the flexibility to summon from Graveyard really does help a lot with the grind game of the deck, especially considering it can also banish itself to be an interruption, which is also awesome. But yeah, there you go. Let's get into game 3. Already in the game 3, and looking at this hand, you can already tell that this is busted, but it's the mirror match. Okay, well, you're looking at this hand and you're thinking, well, the Epidemic Eradicator virus is pretty much GG's against Labyrinth, right? Well, let's see. We top deck in the evenly matched as well. Like, how better for us could this turn go? We're gonna go evenly matched here off the rip. They're gonna go big Welcome Labyrinth, which actually does mitigate the effects of evenly matched quite nicely, because now they're not really losing very much. They're able to use the Chandelier from the graveyard, activating this. Now, I wouldn't have done this in the battle phase, just in case my opponent had another evenly matched, but ultimately, they're just showing off what they can do, right? Me in phase 2, normal summon the Ariana. They're going to go for Ash Blossom on the Ariana, which is very interesting. Again, not a bad play, but we're lucky enough to just open up with all of our key cards anyways. We're going to set 4. They're going to go with Dimensional Barrier just so they can trigger off their Labyrinth card here. They're going to set Epidemic Eradicator Virus. Now, this is where things get dicey for us. We do pass turn. They're going to go Chandelier, dropping both their cards. They're going to go Welcome Labyrinth as well. So they've got some additional follow-up, as well as, of course, their Virus card. They're going to use the Virus, tribute off their Lady. We're going to flip up Welcome Labyrinth of our own. We're going to get hit with an Ash Blossom there, which is pretty unfortunate, but it is what it is. We're going to flip up our Big Welcome then. Big Welcome does something very, very similar, but unfortunately we're not able to resolve the virus of our own. We're now playing under virus without a virus. So we're going to have to see how it works. Whole back row gone, but we do at the very least get to draw 1 and summon 1 from hand. He doesn't exactly have a ton of resources himself, so we might be able to finesse our way into a win here. We're going to summon out Lady from the hand. They're going to summon Lady from deck. We're going to draw 1. We draw into Pot of Extravagance, which isn't a trap card, thankfully. But it doesn't exactly give us a lot of options, nor a lot of room here. So we're just going to have to wait and see if we can't get into something useful. Again, luckily our opponent is giving us time by not having any plays. We're also able to play sort of under. We're gonna send this back to hand just so we can normal summon it again. Setting Welcome Labyrinth to the field from the graveyard. Normal summon, search our deck for the Lady. We're gonna go Torby here, drop 2, chaining to that the Welcome Labyrinth, because we might as well. The Lady Labyrinth. Summon her out. We're gonna activate the field spell directly from the deck, and with the face down Welcome Labyrinth, of course, that means we can pop his card, which is our objective, right? Into the battle phase, we're going to flip up Welcome Labyrinth. He's going to activate his effect in response. Because he's turn player, he gets the opportunity to use his before I use mine, and it is a when effect, which means it needs to be activated directly in response to the trap. We cannot activate ours. We do get the pop his card, or we don't get the pop his card, sorry, because he just set a card off of his own effect. Misplay from ourselves there. We should have sniped the back row. Big misplay from us. You know, it is what it is. And now our fields are almost identical, but he does definitely have an advantage. Drawn to the coup clock, yet again, not a trap. So honestly, the Epidemic definitely punished us early in the game, but we've been lucky enough to skate by since. But that Ace Dragon's Prison is going to be a nightmare here. They're going to summon out the lovely Labyrinth, and this is where things just start scaling out of control, where they just absolutely start taking over this duel. The amount of advantage they generate here, the amount of cards they're going to pop, the amount of cards they're going to add, the amount of cards they're going to set, the continual once per turn destroying, the towers monster that can't be interrupted, the fact that can't respond to their trap effects. It just becomes incredibly difficult to maneuver our way through this matchup once the opponent's engine gets going, especially in a mirror match and especially under virus. Into the main phase, we realize very quickly we can't win this, and then we just pick up our deck and move on to the next one. So there you go. I mean, there's Labyrinth beating Labyrinth. If you want to learn from anything, learn from our opponent's plays in that. He definitely beat us. Having the virus playable at the beginning, yeah, sure, a little bit cheesy sometimes. I'll grant you that much, but ultimately, he still won, so it is what it is. Let's get into game 4. Alrighty, game 4. Now, this is a relatively short one. I can't remember why, though, but let's find out. I'm having a feeling that it's going to be doing with that dimensional barrier. We're going to normal summon Ariana here. He's going to activate the maximum sheesh. That suits me just fine. That is totally grand. We're going to grab the big welcome labyrinth. We're going to set 3 and we're going to pass. I'm in no rush to special summon, my friend. You do you. We're going to flip up welcome labyrinth right off the bat, grabbing our lady. Then we're going to flip up big welcome labyrinth. This is going to be the key combo that I showed off in the short that we did, of course. Not that I didn't hope of it or anything, of course. Setting the virus card, we're going to summon out the lovely labyrinth. We already have the clock in hand, luckily, so we didn't need to worry about that. Activating Ariana and the silver castle. So we want to do this first because this tells us what our opponent's playing. If we know what they're playing, then we know what to call. Numeron network in the hand, so we know if we call spell card. Done, finished, gone. So he wouldn't have been able to play the game, and that's just an example of that combo and how impactful it can be. Obviously, in that circumstance, we had it even better because we got to snipe a card out of his hand first. And while, of course, the -1 isn't always the most impactful thing, considering you're going to blow their hand up anyways, what it tells you is what they're playing and what you need to call in order to beat them. Very straightforward stuff. Let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, so here is the deck list that we sort of ended on before we moved on to other versions of the deck. It's neat, for sure. I kind of think that this version of it, this is probably going to be one of the more standard versions, but there are definitely cards in here that were overhyped, according to, like, as soon as they came out, people automatically started freaking out over the virus cards, right? And the virus cards are neat and incredibly satisfying when they work. But ultimately, they're not that impactful right now. So, in later versions of the deck, I'm going to cover off other versions of it over the next few days, probably over the next week or so, that play it in different ways with different cards. And we do end up cutting the virus cards out of it eventually. But this is going to be an idea of how to play it if you really want to include these, because a lot of people just love the virus cards, and I get it, right? They're incredibly satisfying and exceptionally powerful when they work. So, the basis of this deck, in terms of, I mean, it's the basis of virtually any lab deck. We're playing as much labyrinth sort of support as we possibly can. We are running Gamma in this version. Let's talk about the hand traps first of all. So we're running Gamma purely because welcome, so your 2 welcome cards, you can't let them get ashed. You really can't afford for them to get ashed. So you do really want to go for Gamma, to be honest. Gamma does help protect these cards. It's not mandatory, of course. You don't have to play Gamma. You can leave it, but you really can't afford to get ashed. But we'll cut it for now. Of course, we got the triple max C. We got double call by the grave. All of those cards you can do whatever you want with. The trap card lineup is the whole point of this lineup is the virus cards, right? That's the whole point. So that's why we're playing it the way we're playing it. Not a ton of variety here in terms of trap cards because we don't really need them. Our plan is to use up big floodgates and totally dominate the game. That's the plan. So, what do the labyrinth cards actually do? Well, let's start from the start. Let's start with the furniture. The clock, the oven, the stove, sorry, and the chandelier. So, coup clock. You can discard this card from your hand, and essentially, for the rest of this turn, you can activate a set trap card on the turn it was set. This card will also add itself back to your hand from the graveyard whenever you activate the effect of a labyrinth that ends up with you discarding a card, so he does come back as well. We play 2 because Bestials exist. If Bestials didn't exist, we would only play 1. It's not the greatest card to draw into. Running 2 of it has cucked us on occasion, so you might want to play it at 1, to be honest. But you also hate when it gets hit by a Bestial, you hate when it gets hit by Call by the Grave or any of these cards that banish it, so it really is up to you on how safe you want to play it. Running 2 Torby, you could run 3, I think 2 or 3 is totally fine. Basically these 2 do the exact same thing where you can discard them or send them from the field to the graveyard, whichever, as well as discarding another card to set a labyrinth card directly to the field. Now, I wasn't super big on these guys before when the only trap they really had to set was welcome, but now that we also have big welcome, these guys become significantly more valuable. 100,000%. These guys become amazing. Considering the whole combo you can set up off of just having these 2 cards set, because you know, it gives you access to your lady, having these guys in your hand as often as possible is usually a good thing. Ariana, normal summon, search the Labyrinth card, like it's pretty straightforward. Also, another effect it has, whenever a monster leaves the field due to the effect of a normal trap card, you can draw a card and then set a card to the field or special summon a fiend monster from your hand, but you can only use one of its effects per turn. So do be wary of that. You can't use both of its effects in one turn. But yeah, pretty solid card. Sometimes that little draw one can win you games. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's cool nonetheless. Lovely Labyrinth and Lady Labyrinth, your two boss monsters for sure. So Lovely Labyrinth was the original boss monster. This card, first of all, while it's face up, your opponent can't activate monster effects in response to your normal traps. No Ash Blossoms, no nothing. It can, once per turn, target a normal trap in the graveyard, set it back to the field. Great recursion. Excellent way of recycling some of your floodgates. I think D-Barrier is amazing as a target in this deck. That's why I cut the virus cards, because D-Barrier is almost always better. And lastly, if another monster leaves the field because of a normal trap card effect, you can pop a card either on your opponent's field by targeting or a random card in their hand. Just an excellent card overall. You only need one of it. You really don't like seeing this card in your opening hand, and it can be summoned directly from the deck very easily. It can be summoned from the graveyard with relative ease as well, so you really don't need more than one of it. Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle is the new boss monster of the deck. So long as you control a set card, your opponent cannot target with this card with card effects or destroy it with card effects, meaning it's 3k untargetable and indestructible, which is pretty good. Secondary to that, you can also special summon it straight from your hand to the field in defense during the turn in which a Labyrinth monster effect or a normal trap card effect was activated, and if while face up, as a quick effect, if a trap card is activated, you can chain this card to the trap card to set any trap from your deck directly to the field. And that is of course part of our primary combo to work with the clock. I've already talked about that combo, you saw it in the gameplay, everybody knows about it at this stage. I just made a short about it, so yeah. This card's absolutely incredible. This card is nuts. Double Lord of the Heavenly Prisons. You can reveal this card during your main phase 1. It stays revealed until the end of your opponent's next turn, and while it's revealed, set cards cannot be destroyed by card effects, which just acts as protection for your back row. There's not exactly a lot of cards out there that destroy back row at the minute. Like, a lot of people have sort of clicked on the Prism was... Everyone thought that this card was going to be a lot more popular than it is. I like this in the virus versions of the deck, not because of the back row protection. That's neat, but the main reason I like it is that it gives me an extra spammable and summonable target to tribute for my virus cards, as well as setting another card for my deck. I use it for its summon effect in this deck, rather than its protection. But the protection does come up, so it's just a neat little side effect. Triple pot of extravagance. You don't really use your extra deck. I'll just talk about the extra deck briefly now. This is all just random nonsense. You can play like a coordinated extra deck, but very rarely are you going to need it. The only exception I made was throwing in 3 copies of Lingerebo, just in case my opponent hits me with like an Ibly or something, right? But you will virtually never use your extra deck in this version of the deck. So if you want to put more thought into your extra deck, by all means. I didn't, because I wanted to move on to other versions of the deck, but it's up to you. Field spell, Labyrinth. This card is a bit of a mouthful, but it's awesome. If you have a set Welcome Labyrinth normal trap, you, upon resolution of that card, get to pop a card on the field, which is pretty awesome. And if you activate a non-Labyrinth normal trap, you get to special summon back a fiend from your hand or graveyard. Great recursion, extra disruption, love it. The virus cards. Deck Devastation Virus is like an anti-sprite card primarily. You contribute a dark monster that has 2,000 or more attack points. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's field and hand who have 1,500 or less attack points, as well as every monster they draw with 1,500 or less attack for the next 3 turns. Virus is pretty similar, except you choose either spells or traps, and you do the same thing. You destroy all their spells or traps, depending on which one you pick, and the same for the next 3 turns for every one they draw. Pretty straightforward stuff. Dimensional Barrier. Declare Ritual, Fusion, Synchro Exceed, or Pendulum. That card frame cannot be used. For the first time in forever, while I was testing out these decks, I think it was the next version of the deck you guys are going to see, actually declaring Ritual on Dimensional Barrier to win a game. I've never had to do that before. But then we went against Dogmatica. And so this beats most decks, right? The only deck it doesn't beat outright is going to be, of course, mirror matches and cards that don't use the extra deck, but also Sprite. And I discussed this with, you're going to see it in an upcoming video, where even if you lock them out of Exceeds, which is the best play, it just feels like a fair match, like, and which is nuts to me, right? You can cut out half their extra deck, you can say no more Exceeds, and it suddenly feels fair, right? That's dangerous. That shows you how brutal Sprite is. But Dimensional Barrier is insane. Evenly Matched is going to be a meta staple right now for sure. Evenly Matched is busted. Infinite Impermanence, of course, just a really good generic trap card. Triggers off your lady. Love it. And then your 2 Welcome Labyrinth cards. Welcome Labyrinth. Special summons a Labyrinth monster directly from the deck. Big Welcome Labyrinth does the same thing, except you have to target a monster in your field afterwards and return it back to hand. But this can also summon from grave. And it also has a built-in disruption, where you can banish it from the graveyard to target a fiend you control, or if you have a level 8 or higher fiend in your field, any card your opponent controls bounce it back to hand. That, of course, is useful in triggering all of your additional effects. Because all of your monsters basically gain additional effects whenever a card is removed from the field by a normal trap card. And like I said, extra deck's meaningless. Do whatever you want with it. I literally just wanted more Lingarebo so I wouldn't get hit with Ibly. But everything else is entirely optional. This was our first sort of take at a Labyrinth deck. I definitely think there are better lists, and you're going to see better lists on the channel for what you could be expecting to see Labyrinth develop into. This is more of like a beginner sort of introduction to Labyrinth and the virus cards. But I'm going to have better deck lists on Labyrinth on the channel very, very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. If you've got this far into the video and you haven't subscribed yet, by the way, if you want to catch those videos as they're coming out, subscribe, hit the wee bell for notifications. That's the best way to do it realistically, and it does help me out an awful lot. I would appreciate it. And yeah, like the video if you got this far, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.